And just so you know, this whole session is being recorded, and we'll post it on the website too. So any information we go over today is also all housed on our website, as well as the guideline packet for each grant. All of the information is in there as well. Today is more of just a casual meet ya, how are ya, go over some of the basics, and answer any questions.
Yeah.
So.
And some of you know, we used to do this live, and I can't wait to get back to the time of doing it live. But for right now, we're doing what we need to do to get it all to happen here. So this first session, we're going to be talking about the Opportunity Grant Program. And as I said earlier, we will be getting to the John Ringling Tower Grant Program immediately after this. Those of you who are here for Opportunity Grants, so we'll let you know you can sign off after this. You don't have to sit in on John Ringling Tower unless you just want to. So we're going to bring up a few slides for you here, so you'll be able to read along with what we're saying. But as Sam indicated, this is all being recorded, and it'll be on our website by the end of the day or by tomorrow morning. And of course, we are always available by telephone or any type of communication. So just, I want you to be aware that it is being recorded. So let's go to the next slide here, Sam. Thank you. What we're going to talk about today, this is the agenda. We're going to go through the program calendar, and essentially the calendar for both of these grant programs is going to be the same. We're going to go through the opportunity grant details, including a quick overview of the application itself, so that we can, make sure you are clear on anything that may be there, and we can answer any questions you may have. We're going to go through the John Ringling Tower program. Then and with both of those, we'll be talking about the application process, and as a part of the grant, the final report process. So here's the calendar, just to make sure we're all clear. The opening of the grant cycle will be tomorrow. We'll go ahead and open the application on our website. And Sam will go over with you later how you contact that or get involved with it. And then the application deadline for the Opportunity Grant is September 10th at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, just to be aware, at 5 o'clock we shut down the application, and that'll be it. And as you'll see as we go through, this is a fairly simple application. It's not really complicated like the TDC grant, for example, might be. But if you wait until the last minute, you could get shut off before you put it in. So don't wait till the last minute. Give yourself a little time and make sure you can get it in, because our goal is to be able to grant out as much money as we can to help support all of our arts organizations and artists in the community. Then beginning in the middle of September, we will be bringing together panelists who are knowledgeable of the arts in our community and knowledgeable of arts and culture from a lot of different perspectives. And they will review all of the applications that come in. We'll have a group session, and then they will make recommendations on who should receive grants, which grants they think. We typically get more grant applications than we have money. And we try to stretch the money as far as we can, and we want to make it work. But there will be that review process. And then later in September, you'll be notified one way or the other about the grant. And then in October, we will actually make the initial awards for the grants. We have traditionally done that at a celebration of the arts that we put on at the Van Wezel Performing Arts Hall, which we didn't do last year, and we probably won't do this year. But we're going to try to make it something that will be able to help get recognition for all of your groups and make sure you get the money in your hands by sometime in late October. The first payments will be going out. So the Opportunity Grant Program, I think most of you may know, but if you don't, where we get the funds to fund the opportunity grants is from the sale of the state of the arts license plate in the state of Florida. So anybody that buys a state of the arts license plate in Sarasota County is actually going to be contributing to this program and help support the arts. So one thing I'd like to ask of each one of you, and I think we need to be more active about this, with your patrons, you know, in your publications and in on your website. Encourage your patrons to buy the state-of-the-arts license plate, because when they do, each time one of those plates is purchased, $20 of that purchase is sent to the Arts and Cultural Alliance, and that's where we get the money to be able to provide these grants. So the more money we have in the pool, the more money we're able to get out to support you. And that's another way that your patrons can support you and help support the arts overall. Now, this program is set up to provide grant funding, and you'll see this in a moment, but primarily for organizations that do not qualify for or do not apply for the tourist development tax grant that we do with the county bed tax money. You can't do both, okay? And so the program is set up to support projects that can demonstrate artistic merit. And this, as you'll see in a few moments, this program is for arts and cultural organizations whose primary purpose is arts and culture. We periodically get folks who maybe are going to have a festival and they had a music group coming in and they ask for support for it. And we do not support that sort of thing. This is for organizations whose primary purpose is arts and culture. We like to see community involvement in these grants, and you'll be hearing more about that in the application. But as you're approaching your application for it, one of the factors that the reviewers look for is, you know, what are the opportunities for community involvement? And then we look for administrative competence, which is typically measured by the efficiency of your application. We also look at the financial, you know, picture of your organization, making sure that things seem to be running right. That's a very small part of the consideration, but it is a part of it. The applications can be for up to $5,000. And what I encourage you to do is, if you're going to be applying for a grant and what you really need from us is $2,000, you know, if you could do your project in, apply for $2,000, because we have a limited pool of money. And I really do not know what that money is until we get down to about the end of September. And all the money that is going to be coming in from the state or from the the county license bureau, we know exactly how much money we have. So if you need $5,000 and more, you can apply for up to $5,000. All right. And as we said a little earlier, the way that the money will be released is once you are notified that you will be receiving a grant, you'll get 75% of the money up front in October. And then the other 25% will come to you after you or as you submit your final report. And yeah, that report will be due no later than September 30th, 2022.
2022.
we didn't
error
update
there.
that. Yeah. All right. All right. So let's go to the next slide. Who is eligible for an opportunity grant? First of all, you must be, as I indicated earlier, an organization whose primary mission is artistic or cultural. It can, in this case, it can include to exhibitions, arts education within your organization. You must be a 501c3 organization based in Sarasota County. And every year we get a couple of questions, you know, particularly for those of you in the north part of the county. There's that line up by the airport, and we have some people who are in a Sarasota zip code, but they are actually in Bradenton. So, you know, you have to be, your organization has to be based in Sarasota County. Yeah. And the project must be 12 months or less in duration, meaning that you need to complete the project between October 1 of this year, 2021, and September 30th of 2022. All right. Now, if you do your project on the last day of September, then that's when you can apply for the you get your final report in and so on. Okay. You're not eligible for the opportunity grant if you receive a tourist development tax grant in the same year. You can't apply for both. Okay. And an organization is restricted to one application with one project per year. So if your season happens to be your project, then you can apply for the season. If not, select the project that you are looking for support on and make the application for that project, okay? Support groups and guilds are not eligible to apply on behalf of their organization. A classic example, which is very obvious here, the Opera Guild cannot apply for a grant in support of the opera since the opera receives a TDC grant. It's that type of thing. But if you're, as the organization that you're representing today, if you are a guild or a support group, then you're not eligible. The organization itself has to make the application. The allowable expenses that you can apply for are salaries and fees, production or exhibition expenses, marketing, and this last one, office equipment with software and so on, that is related to the project that you are applying for. You know, we can't, I wish we could, we just don't have enough money to say, okay, we'll help you buy new computer systems for your organization. It's got to be related to the project that you're applying for. And again, I want to emphasize that all of this is on the website. You can get to it very easily. So you don't have to make extensive notes here this morning unless you just want to. All right, just a quick coverage. The things that are not allowable that you cannot ask for reimbursement on are fellowships or scholarships, touring exhibitions that take place outside of Sarasota County, reduction of existing deficits. In other words, if you want to try to do debt reduction or mortgage reduction, we don't do that. No payroll taxes, pensions, that sort of thing. No construction or renovation. It's not a capital grant. You can't do entertainment expenses. In other words, if you're bringing an artist in or you're trying to entertain a donor to help, support you, we cannot reimburse that. Any travel that is not related to the project, we cannot reimburse. No fundraising activities, and no rent or utilities or telephone bills or anything of that kind, and no in-kind non-cash items should be included in the budget. Okay, we're going to talk about the budget a little bit in a few moments. The scoring criteria, what our panel will be using to measure the applications against. First is artistic merit. Is this a project or an exhibition that truly helps promote arts in Sarasota County? You'll be looking at work samples that you'll provide. You'll see that in the application. Any reviews that you may get from your production or your exhibit. It's always nice to receive, to conclude copies of that in your final report. We'll talk about that again later. And then the organizational history, what has your organization brought to the community? Because remember, one of our core criteria that we talked about is community engagement. And so, your application should be succinct and simple because typically the committees will be reading 15 or 20 of these. And we want to make it as easy on them as we can, but you need to explain what your organization has done from a historical point of view. That next one is community involvement. If you have a project that might be able to engage 10 really interested people, that's a level of consideration. If it's an opportunity to meet, hundreds of people, thousands of people, that's probably a bigger consideration, So you want to get a project, you want to select a project that's going to get as much community engagement as is possible. But we also know that all organizations have their limitations on, the size of the organization, capacity, and so on like that. Accessibility, making sure that the project is in a place or available to be as accessible to as many people as possible. And all of us are clearly aware of the importance of diversity at all times, but we look for, if you've got a program that can impact as many different diverse types of audiences as possible, that's always a plus, right? Then, as I said, on the administrative competence, there'll be some financial reports, your budget and so on, your board of directors, your organizational history, Because, and I think that all of you have been through these types of things. We have limited amount of money to spend, and we want to spend it as effectively as we can to support the arts in Sarasota County. All right, this is the budget sheet. As you can see, it's pretty simple. We don't need a lot of extraneous information, but you want to include the true expenses that you anticipate, whether that's salaries and fees, production or exhibition expenses, marketing expenses, any capital items. That's where that computer software and so on like that came in. If you need it for this program, if you need to get a computerized light program to make this particular event happen, that can be included here. And then if you're receiving funds from other grants, or that's what that part is about. If other people, and we encourage multiple supporters, we want to be able to stretch the money to help all of you as much as we can. Just indicate that. And as you see at the bottom, it's a maximum of a $5,000 ask. And the grant funds may not be more than 50% of the total project budget. Okay. So if your total budget is $6,000, then you can ask for up to $3,000, to be clear on that. Because we expect that we are helping you and your organization put it on, but we're not here to fund the entire project. And the actual budget compiles will be completed and submitted with the final report, which you'll hear about. We have any questions so far on the opportunity grant? Anything that maybe is on your mind that we can clarify?
Questions?
Hey guys, yeah, this is Lane. Can we go back to that slide with the budget?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When in the grants column, you said, I think you were saying any additional grants we might be getting from other organizations.
Right. Let's
we
say
could
if
put
you,
there.
yeah, let's say, Lane, if you have, let's say if you're doing an exhibition and your total exhibition cost is $10,000, just to pick a number, whatever it may be. And you have received or will be receiving a grant from the Community Foundation, for example, that will cover $5,000 of that. Just indicate that in there so that we can, it's not a penalty to you. It just helps us look at how we can proportion the money best.
Gotcha. And it would be in that grants fund column.
Correct.
Okay. So I guess I wanted to be sure that wasn't supposed to be isolated to just the $5,000 or the ask.
Yeah, well, and let's stay here while we're on it. Let's just say that, take your total down here. Let's say if the total cost of putting on your event, and I use that, but I don't want to use that term because we don't do fundraising events and that sort of thing. Your production.
Right. But like an exhibition or
season, and let's say
or whatever.
Let's say that's $25,000. And, you're going to have maybe ticket sales, or you'll have, other money that's coming in that will help support that. But if we see on here that, that you're going to use this money, $5,000, you want to get $5,000 that you could indicate would be for the opportunity grant, put that in there. We know that you don't have it yet, but maybe that's where you're planning on spending the money. Okay.
Okay.
If you've got your exhibition costs covered by another grant, just put that in there so we'll know it's there and we can consider how to apply the money against to give it the best leverage we can for you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Great.
Any other questions?
I think
Logan, I think I saw you raise your hand.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So the position I'm in, I've recently received Mellon Grant funds to produce a Theater for Young Audiences play. And the plan is to tour it locally around Sarasota. So, we were planning through the foundation to apply for an organizational grant. But hearing what you said about it's specifically dedicated to arts nonprofits, that doesn't sound like a route that would necessarily function. So my assumption is I should probably stick around for the JRT grant, Chad. Yeah,
correct? Well, probably. And I was going to tell you that New College does receive TDC support. Okay.
Heard.
And so therefore you would not be eligible for this grant.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, yeah.
No, helpful. I appreciate it. But given that, the touring production itself, and I don't want to take up too much time here
Sure.
of everyone's space, but given that the production itself is funded through Mellon, but isn't specifically a New College production, it would still be fundable through JRT to fund that tour as long as it's local, correct?
Probably not. And I'll tell you why, because the John Ringling Tower grants are for individual artists, right? You as an artist personally applying for a grant to help you with your professional mission in your artistic career. It's a totally different type of grant. Now, for the historic preservation, we'll get to that in a little bit, but that's, again, it's for preservation of a historic structure with the community. So John Ringling Tower, there might be the possibility that one of the touring artists might be able to, you as the organization, you as New College Foundation can apply for the John Ringling Tower grant.
Heard. Yeah, I'm not associated with the New College Foundation. That was just how we were thinking about potentially trying to
Gotcha.
run.
Yeah. But if this is to support a program that you're doing, you personally are doing to help expand your career or your mission as an artist, then you could apply for the grant.
Oh, great.
John
Okay,
Ringling Tower.
that's wonderful to know. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Got it. Yeah, Bob.
So when you talked about what's fundable, I guess I had the impression, maybe erroneously, that a project grant really should be for a specific concert or event. So
Correct.
the grants that we've written in the past, right? So we wrote grants in the past for one of our concerts. I thought I heard you say somewhere along the way there that that an entire season could be a project.
Well, I made that as a comment because for some organizations, that event is their entire season, okay? In your case, you will be looking at multiple concerts, and you're probably better off applying for this grant for one of those projects.
One concert.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Any other questions before we start looking at the application?
Yeah, Mary Ann.
Thanks. Yeah, I just kind of want to follow up with Lane's question. That was something that I was curious about too in the budget, where it said the one column is the actual project expenses, and then the next column is the grant funds. So the project expenses is everything we'll actually need for the project. And then the grant funds is only what we're asking for from the opportunity grant, which would be half of the total project expenses. Is that?
Up to half of it, yeah. And I don't want to complicate this too much, but it's very common for organizations, let's say on a given project, whatever you select, whichever one that you select. You may also, like if it's a $40,000 project overall, okay? You may have applied to another foundation or another funding source for a piece of that project. And if you've already secured that grant from another organization, you can simply indicate that on here that, okay, we've got a grant for $4,000 from XYZ Foundation to cover this. So we took our $35,000 down to $31,000, and here's how we're going to look at paying for this production or this event or this exhibition that we're putting on.
Okay, so we list the opportunity grant funds as hypothetical and any other grant funds from other sources.
Correct. Right.
And then would we list any other fundraising that might go towards that project? Any other monies that we have, like on hand funds that we raised, or?
Well, really all you've got, what you've got to do is to say, let's say for this project, if this project is $35,000, we're picking that same number again, and you've got, let's say, one grant for that, let's say for $5,000 to make the math simpler. But you also have been raising money this year. And what you can do is show that if we can get this $5,000 from the opportunity grant, along with these other funds that we have in here, then we can make this happen. Because where you might run into difficulty is if you're trying to raise $35,000 or $40,000 and the only money you have is what's going to come from this opportunity grant, the chances are pretty good you're not going to do that project. And we do not want to fund a project that doesn't have a chance of happening. We want to help you make the project, and we don't have unlimited money. So that's kind of how we can all, that's how the people evaluating it can say, oh yeah, we can help these people make this happen. You know, that's what we're looking for.
Okay, thank you so much. That really makes sense and clarifies.
Okay, good.
Okay, so we're gonna take a moment here to look at just the application itself, what that looks like. It's like Jim said, it's fairly simple, and I'm sure if you've gone through this process before, it's probably exactly the same. So when you come to our website, sarasotaarts.org, at this top navigation bar up here, you see the first button here is grants. If you click that will take you to our initial landing page about the different grants that we help manage. Obviously the TDC, Opportunity Grant, and John Ringling. You're all going to want to click on this Opportunity Grant, and that will take you to the information page, which again, just kind of briefly describes the grant, gives you a full timeline, today's session. This is where the recording of the today's meeting will be as well. And then you have the full timeline here that kind of breaks things down a little bit further. Where you guys are going to want to go for more information. Tomorrow, this will be active. This is where you will access the actual application. And then you have the Opportunity Grant guidelines. This is a full packet, which goes, I'll just pull it up here really quick, which details everything that we talked about today. It's a pretty extensive packet. It goes over the whole process, eligibility, review, the final report. Everything is kind of laid out here. You also get an example of the scoring guide. So how the actual panelists, what their process of how they're reviewing the grants. So that's there for you to view as well. So again, Opportunity Grant. This is where you will click to review the actual application. And then you also have the budget form and the final report form, which you can look at and explore. So this is what the actual application looks like. Like I said, it's pretty straightforward. This first section here is just going to be basic contact information for your organization.
Let me pause here real quick though. This is a very important piece. Make sure that primary contact is someone that knows what's going on. Because we run into this quite often. Somebody's name gets in there, and if we need to contact them and they don't know what's going on, it doesn't help either one of us. Make this the person that's responsible for that grant, okay?
Very good point. Next, we go into the eligibility section, and this is more of the, your IRS information, your 990, your determination letter. It's where you're going to submit the list of your board of directors, including their name, contact information, and occupation, date of your 501c3, tax ID, all of that kind of basic organization information.
Let me pause another moment. She hates me when I do this. Again, on these, what I recommend you do is go in and review the information you're going to need ahead of time and put that information in something like a Word document or whatever, so that you can simply upload it into the deal and not try to type it all in there at once. It's much easier just to bring it in simply and do it that way.
Another great point. Moving forward, this is really the big start of the application process. This is where you're going to put in your mission statement, link to your website, organization history. This section right here is extremely important. This is where you're going to be discussing your proposed project summary. So describing the project, including all of that information that Jim went into as far as community involvement, the impacts of the grant on your organization. You're emphasizing the artistic merit of the project, community involvement, and giving examples of your administrative competence. And there is a word count on these sections. So like, as it's, probably a good idea to kind of type all of this out in a Word doc, and then you're just copying and pasting into these boxes would probably be the best way to go about doing it. But no more than 1,000 words on the organization history and no more than 1,500 on the proposed project summary.
Yeah, let me interject again here. And Bob, I'll get with you in just 1 minute. Keeping in mind, we've emphasized the things that we're really looking for on this grant: artistic merit, community involvement, those kinds of things. We had a situation a few years ago where on the TDC grant program that we do, one of the caveats of that program is that we do not fund educational activity for the arts with that program, because it's all about tourist development. And one of the organizations made a great application telling us ad nauseum about all the wonderful things they do for arts education in the school system. And they didn't get the grant because that's not what that grant funds, okay? So we're telling you out loud, artistic merit and community. So in your 1,000 words, whatever the limit is there, focus on the things that this grant is looking for, and that'll give you a much better chance at a successful application.
Bob, did you have a
Yeah.
question?
Oh, yeah, just, I just want to make sure that the number, it's characters or words in the boxes.
It's a word. It's words.
They're all words now.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
one of the past years, one of them was characters and one of them was words. And so I wrote this long thing and then it didn't fit because it was supposed to be characters in that one.
Right.
I will double check just to make sure. I'm almost 95% sure it's words, but I will confirm.
Okay.
For sure.
And limit your use of the word "a"
Yeah.
because it's both.
Yeah.
So,
Got it. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. And the next section in the application is going to go over your budget. So the amount requested, like Jim said, if you only need 2,000 or 3,000, that's what you should request. Then necessarily everyone asking for 5,000 if it's not what you need.
Well, I want to comment. She's loving me here. And the reason that's important, that does not penalize you at all. But if you'll put yourself in the place of the panel who's reviewing these things, typically we'll have, let's just say $25,000 to grant, whatever that number is, and we'll get requests for $50,000. Well, we don't have $50,000. So what the panelists try to do is to really fund as many projects as they can to the extent that they can, and kind of rank them as to the ones they think best fit the need. So that says, it may be that if you only need $2,500, they say, oh, wow, we can fully fund that one over there. And that'll help that group, with what it is. And that gives them more money that they might be able to do something else with others who have different types of needs and so on. That's the only reason that I indicate that that's to your advantage probably to do that.
This section here is where you're going to upload your budget template, which again can be found back on the back here on the landing page for the opportunity grant. This is where you can download this PDF, which is the budget sheet we went over. This is where you upload it. Any additional notes or explanations for the project in regards to the budget can go in that section as well. Moving on, this is where you're going to upload any supporting documents. So programs, art samples, video, audio recordings, anything that you just feel will help support your application and the project that you're wanting, the event, the program that you're wanting to receive grant funding for. So there's opportunity to include multiple extra audio and images and that kind of thing in this section here. And then the application rounds out with just this box here. You're just going to sign or, just type in your name that, you're certifying this application and the attachments that are included, and you're acknowledging that your organization is authorizing this application. You're going to confirm that you're not a robot. If you want to print out your application, I highly recommend it. Once it's fully completed, you can do that here. It'll export it into a PDF, which you can print and save. And then this is the submit button.
But let me show you the great value of progress. It wasn't too many years ago to when we did not have the online applications. And at 5 o'clock in the afternoon of the day of the closing, we would usually have 5 or 6 people standing at our door to hand us their written application. We do not want your written application. Keep that for yourself. It has to be on the digital document this time. And it has to be in by 5 o'clock on that date. As you can see, this is not going to take a lot of time relative to the grant world to fill out. But you won't be able to do it in the last 2 hours of the last day. Okay, so work on it in advance and get yourself set up for it. You can save and come back and just don't put the stress on yourself.
Marianne, do you have a question?
We'll get Nancy after that.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was going back to the budget again, that you just showed on the application, and it said organizations budget. But
What that is the amount of, that was that money you were talking about that we've raised X number of money, or we're anticipating ticket sales of, whatever that is. That's the money other than grant money that you anticipate being able to meet the expenses of this project. It's how you will get there, okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I was just wondering because it said upload your organization's budget, but you're meaning the project budget.
No, on that portion of it, the budget for your organization needs to be uploaded into that. It has nothing to do with this grant budget. It's your organization. And that's how we look at administrative competence. In other words, have you been around for a while, and you're operating on a budget of, as an organization, of $200,000 a year, then you've got some substantial stuff there. If your organizational budget is under $5,000, it's pulling one of these things off is going to be slim. That's kind of how you have to look at it.
Can we go back to that page, Samantha, that you had up?
Yep, no problem. I just want to say we have a lot of people are joining the meeting who are probably interested in the John Ringling Tower grant. We're still wrapping up with opportunity grant stuff. We'll be jumping on that discussion here shortly. So just wanted to say hello to the people who are entering. Okay, Marianne, so you wanted to look at the budget sheet again on the application?
No, the page that you just had up, the application process.
Okay, yep.
And as you scroll down, right there, it says upload organization budget using the budget template available.
Yes, so that is what, if you, that is here. And we'll just pull that up so you guys can see what that looks like. It's going to be an Excel sheet.
And to answer your question, that is the project budget that you're uploading, okay? Yeah. That is the project budget that we're asking for. And that's
okay, thank you, because it says organization budget, so I didn't know if you wanted
for this project, this project, yeah.
Okay. So again, and this is what you get, so it's set up in an Excel sheet, so it's easy for you to enter in all of your information. But basically this is the project budget, and then I'm not sure if this is.
Well, that's what we're asking for, is the budget for this project of the organization. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there another area where we upload the organization's budget?
Well, remember we said you're talking about your history and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Got a place where you can provide that type of information. It's just showing substantial sustainability of the organization is what we're looking for.
Great. Okay. So under the history, provide the organization.
Yeah. Okay, Nancy, now we can shift over. Bob will be with you in a second.
Oh, Nancy, you're muted.
So sorry.
No problem.
My question is, in the past, we've saved in Word, and then on the day we're ready to submit, that's when we're pasting and we're uploading our information. And is that still remaining the same? You can't save
Correct.
in the, okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's why we said, go through the application first and look at what you need, get a list of that, go ahead and do those in a Word document or whatever's appropriate. And then when you go to fill out your application, do it all at one time. And it'll just be cut, paste, cut, paste, cut, paste.
So I just wanted to confirm that it was still the same.
Correct.
Thank you.
That's right. Bob?
Right. So I think that the question Mary Ann was getting to is there a template for the organizational budget, or we just use our own?
You use
Is
your
a
own.
template for the project budget? Is
Correct.
there
That
is there
correct.
a template for the organizational budget?
No.
No. I think what I did, Mary Ann, in the past was I took the spreadsheet that was the project budget, saved it under a new name, changed the headings, and just used it. I used it to be my organizational budget.
Sure. Yeah.
We have an organizational budget in an Excel spreadsheet, so
Yeah, well, you can do that one, sure, but either way, it's two separate budgets.
yes.
Right. That's
Thank you
correct.
for-
That is
thank you
correct.
for
Yeah.
clarifying.
Because there's no place on the project budget to show income. It only asks, the only income it asks for is the grant income. And on the expense side, it's all the expenses of that project. So the expenses, see if I'm right about this, Jim, the expenses that are in the first column should be at least double the size of the grant, which is in the second column.
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
And the whole point is, we want you to understand and help the panelists understand what this project is going to cost and how you're going to pay for this project overall. Okay. Because if you're saying that the only thing we're going to put on here is a grant of $5,000 from the opportunity grant, then you're not helping them out. They can't see where else you're spending money, because the opportunity grant cannot represent more than 50% of the project. And they need to understand where you think you're going to get that other money, how you're going to get it.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions in regards to the opportunity grant right now? No? Okay, so the application will go tomorrow. If at any point, at any time you have questions about anything, please do not hesitate to reach out to myself or Jim. We are here via email, phone, or if you want to pop in and say hi.
Yep.
Yeah, we're here. So yeah, are we ready?
I think
to
we
move
are. Well, hang
on?
on, listen, just one more time. Anybody have any questions at all? All right, so two things I'll just remind you of. One, make sure that you encourage your patrons to buy the state-of-the-art license plate, because the more that organizations do that, the more we can increase our pool of money. And the second thing is I want each of you to also encourage your patrons and the people in your organizations to join the Arts and Cultural Alliance, because that's how we get our advocacy leverage in the community. The more members that we have, and there are any number of levels of membership, the money is important, but even more important are the numbers to help us when we go speak with the political world, the business world, whoever, to be able to get the advocacy support that we need to help represent all of you in the community. So encourage your patrons to join as members of the Arts and Cultural Alliance to help us give that. Just so for your information, I did find out yesterday, some of you may be aware, many of you may know that typically every 5 years, we participate in the Americans for the Arts study of arts and economic prosperity, which is the nationwide study that is conducted by Americans for the Arts through organizations like ours to help demonstrate to the Congress what the actual impact of the arts are on the United States economy. And the Alliance is your representative there. We will be conducting that study with all of you beginning next year for the next Arts and Economic Prosperity 6 study that's coming up. And we will be coming to you asking for information about your individual organization, because when this is all through, not only will we have a nationwide perspective on the arts, but we will be getting a report specific to Sarasota County, where we can go out and say, you know, we have 7,500 people employed full-time in the arts. These organizations spend $300 million a year in our community. That's what gets the attention of county commissioners, state legislators, and so on like that. So that study will be coming up next year, early next year. You'll be hearing from us about it. But just so you'll know, this is going to be coming back around. They did postpone it this past year when it was due because of COVID. But you'll be hearing more about that. That's totally unrelated to what we talked about today. But just to give you a heads up on it.
Okay, great. For those who have just joined, welcome. We're going to start talking about the John Ringling Tower Grant now. So if you want to turn on your video or not, or
and opportunity grant applicants are welcome to stay, but
Yeah.
Unless you just want to hear the information, you can go.
Yeah. Do you want to?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Nancy.
Please reach out if you have questions pop up.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. I think we're getting, oh, look, what a great looking assortment we got here. I love it. We're gonna give another few minutes to allow people time to get on. What time do we say we're gonna start?
Well,
this?
we were supposed to start like 10 minutes ago,
Oh,
but
okay.
that's okay.
So we're within the range. Right now.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
Yes. Do you want to get
All
started?
right. Well, let's just go ahead and get started with who we have, and then if somebody joins, they can
Yep.
we'll answer questions.
We have a lot of folks
Yeah.
who just don't have their
Yeah,
video
and I
on.
suspect with this group, this is an orientation session for the John Ringling Tower grants that are made available through the Arts and Cultural Alliance of Sarasota County. And if I have not met you, my name is Jim Shirley, and I'm the Executive Director of the Arts and Cultural Alliance. And this is Samantha Warfel, who is our Director of Communications, and the lady that you will be talking to quite frequently or have access to. She's also the person that puts out Art Beat and a lot of our other communications programs and all of our press releases and that sort of thing. If she decides to leave, I'm not going to let her. So she is an invaluable resource here. This session is the John Ringling Tower grant program. And this is a very interesting program. What we do here, and we're going to give you all the specifics in a few moments, is this is a program that is designed to support individual artists who work as professional artists in our community in the areas of performing arts, visual arts, and literary arts. It is not for an organization. It is for individual artists. And then the second part of the John Ringling Tower grant is for organizations or groups or governments that are in need of support for historic preservation. And the reason that we include historic preservation in this is many of you may remember, some of you may not, now several years ago, there used to be a building sitting over near where what's the big fancy hotel over
The
there?
Westin?
No,
Yeah.
no.
Ritz-Carlton?
Ritz-Carlton, where the Ritz-Carlton is, that was called the John Ringling Tower. And it was, in many people's minds, it was a historic building. It was where John Ringling used to bring in artists from all over the world and people who, supported the arts from all over the world to visit Sarasota. And it was a large part of the base of building the great arts and cultural atmosphere we have here. But as time moved on, that building fell into disrepair. And the people who developed the Ritz-Carlton were looking to have that land to build a Ritz-Carlton on. And bottom line, that would have required tearing down the John Ringling Tower. A lot of people in the community did not want to see that happen. So they raised a fairly significant fund of money from individual contributions of citizens in the community to fight the tearing down of the John Ringling Tower. And they ultimately lost. The money was being held by the Secretary of State in an escrow account, to make sure it was all done properly. And when that happened, the Secretary of State sent the money that had been collected to support the John Ringling Tower to what was then the Arts Council, is now the Arts and Cultural Alliance. And we want you to use this money to support the arts in Sarasota County. And we took that money, I think it was around $300,000 at the time. And we helped, we put it with the two community foundations, Community Foundation Sarasota County and Gulf Coast Community Foundation. And they put it into their investment tool cage or money. And what we do is every year we take the interest off of that money and help fund these grants in Sarasota County. And while it's not a huge amount of money, it can make a difference in the lives of individual artists and in historic preservation support. So that's why they're called the John Ringling Tower grants and how that all came about. So we're going to be talking about the application process today and what you need to know. As I said, we recognize 3 of the awards, and we do not, every year, we do not always fund each of the awards, because the application process and then how you describe how this grant will help you achieve your artistic mission in the view of individual artists will affect. And sometimes, the panelists will not select somebody, or we don't have applications in some of the areas. But the grant can be up to $3,000, and it is to support the artistic mission of individual artists in the area of performing arts, visual arts, and literary arts. Those of you who are here for the historic preservation, I'm going to address it just a little later, just because it's a little bit different than this. People that are eligible for this grant must live in Sarasota County. Not in.
Yeah, I guess the company is coming tomorrow to pick up the car, period. That's going to be devastating when they pull it away, period.
Someone needs to mute themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, dear God.
There we go. Okay. So are you muted now? That's all right. We'll let you know if you're not. And get that car picked up. It'll be good. Who is not eligible for this grant are students who are actively enrolled in a degree program at the time of the application. So unfortunately, if you happen to be a Ringling College student or a new college student and are actively enrolled in the college participation at the time of the grant, you are not eligible for this grant. You must be a professional artist who is making their living or their primary pursuit as a professional artist living in Sarasota County. If you have received a John Ringling Tower grant within the last 3 years, you are not eligible to apply again. Let's say if you got it 3 years ago, next year you.
Look, I hope your day is good, period.
Okay, we need to, whoever you are, you need to mute.
Homework today.
Go ahead.
Okay, we're going to continue.
Yeah.
And you cannot be a member of the board of directors or the staff of the Arts and Cultural Alliance if you apply for this grant. Okay, and then for historic preservation, Tom and others who are here for that grant, you must be a not-for-profit organization operating in Sarasota County. You can be a government entity, and we're going to go more into this later. But you have to, your project has to be within Sarasota County. And so those are the stipulations here. The application, Sam's going to go over that with you in a few moments. We'll get to, exactly what you need to know. A big part of this grant, some tips for you, is as you make your application, which will be reviewed by a group of panelists from within your specialty. For example, the people that we have on the panels for the visual arts are knowledgeable people in visual arts, or in performing arts, or in literary arts. Each of those panels is different. And for the historic preservation grant, we incorporate people on those panels who have strong backgrounds in architecture, construction, those kinds of things that are relevant to historic preservation. Focus for the individual artists, focus on how this grant will help make a difference for you. Okay, not for the world. It might be good for the world, but how this is going to help you achieve your artistic mission. And you'll see in a few moments that a part of your application is to articulate your artistic mission. And so you need to think about that as you do it and make sure that the mission relates to how you're wording your grant and how you say it's going to help you as an individual. Each of the responses, as Sam has pointed out in the past, will have a word limit. So you need to think about that. And, while all of us can ramble on and on by ourselves, you need to be succinct and articulate about how you do that. And then what we do recommend for you is before you submit your application as an individual artist, or actually as a historic preservation project, let somebody else who is not familiar with your work read your application to see how they react to it, okay? Because you may think it's the perfect application and somebody else must say, well, I don't understand what you're trying to do here. Take that as constructive criticism, okay? We're going to go through this more later, but the scoring guide is going to be included in the guideline documents. Sam's going to point that out to you. We want you to focus on demonstrating excellence in the evaluated areas and the things that will be evaluated for you, and avoid addressing too many elements of your proposal that are not included in the scoring guide. You might be very proud and excited about something over there, but if that's not what they're scoring you on, all you're going to be doing is clouding the issue. Okay, so try to be succinct and articulate in your deal. As I said, we'll have individual peer panels, and peer meaning that they are familiar with your area of artistic expertise. And then they will make recommendations to the Alliance and our board for the final award and decision when we get to that point. Each of you will be asked to do a final report on your project, and we're going to tell you when all that's due. Actually, it's right here on the screen. The individual artist grants are due no later than September 30th of 2022, or the final report, excuse me, is due no later than that. So what you want to apply for is a project that you will begin or be involved in. You may actually be ongoing with it, and this may help you get to the next phase of this project. But what you're going to apply for will be either the entire project or that piece, which can be concluded by the last day of September of 2022. Okay. If it's going to continue beyond that, what you need to show is this phase is what I will be able to complete with this money by September 30th. Okay. We don't want this to say, well, my dream in 40 years is to be this, and I'm going to help walk along the way. You're going to need to be more specific than that. And the final report on the historic preservation is due no later than 30 days after the completion of the project, but the project has to be completed by September 30th of 2022, or the portion that you're using it for. And Tom, I'll elaborate more on that as we go along here in a few moments. Anybody have any questions? Let's take first individual artists in the areas of those three that we outlined. Anybody have any questions at this point that maybe we can help clarify for you?
Okay.
I'm getting better at this. All right. Any of the historic, Rebecca, I'm sorry, go ahead. Oh, you were just shaking your pencil, conducting. I gotcha. Anybody on the historic preservation side have any questions? Tom?
Yeah, Jim, I wanted to ask about the timing of the project. Is it subject to the same stipulations that it has to begin on October 1st of 2021? And I know it doesn't have.
Well, it can begin, the portion of the project that you are applying for, okay, has to begin by that time or be ongoing and can be completed by September 30th of next year.
Okay, so something we're working on currently is eligible for.
It is eligible as long as you can demonstrate how this grant will help you achieve the portion that you're looking for. Now, a little hint, okay? Again, we like to try to help people complete projects if they can. And let's say if you've got a $250,000, expansion or renovation going on, obviously $3,000 is not going to make a big difference unless you can show, hey, we've already raised $227,000, and this will help us get closer, and we think we can close it out because we have these things lined up as well. Okay, if it's a project that you think is not going to really be able to be completed within a 2 to 3 year period, you probably are going to have less of a chance of getting the grant, because we only do one grant in each of these areas. Okay, so we only do one historic preservation grant in a given year. We do one performing arts grant, one visual arts grant, one literary arts grant. So, that the competition at a professional level for those gets to be a little steeper, when you look at it. So that's a good way to view it, I think, is to, they're much more apt to fund it if it can help you really get to the goal line on it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions before we look at the application for JRT? Anyone? Okay, cool. All righty, so we are going to go. Again, you all know our website here, sarasotaarts.org. On the top, you have our main navigation bar up here, which will take you to the listing of the different grants that we manage, the TDC, the Opportunity, and now we're talking about the John Ringling Tower Fund. On this page, it's going to go explain a little bit of the history, which Jim talked about, where the funding for this grant originally came from. It's going to talk about the two different categories that we're working with, the individual artist, which has 3 subcategories, and then the Historic Preservation Award. So a little bit more information there. Highly recommend you review. Have a timeline again, which is the same as the Opportunity Grant. We will have a recording of this meeting today, which will be on this page for review at a later date if needed. And then as you scroll down, you're going to see more information. So again, this, as of tomorrow, will be an active link, which will take you to the application, as well as for the down here as well for the historic preservation application. And then again, you're going to have the guideline packet, which I highly recommend you review. Again, this is going to go more in detail of the whole application process, the review. I'll just pull it up so we can, I'll just pull up the individual artist one. Again, it goes over the program timeline, the description. It goes a little bit more in detail of eligibility, the application review process, when you will be notified, how to apply, how to prepare, tips for producing a better application. And then again, this, like Jim referenced, you do have the scoring guide. So really review this before filling out your application so that you can really cater your description of your project to how they're, how the panelists are actually scoring the application. And then a little bit of a description as into the final report. Again, just more information kind of as to what the structure of the actual application looks like. So again, that packet is available on this page for both the individual artist as well as historic preservation. I believe there is a budget that is required for the historic preservation project, as well as the forms for the final report. So at this time, we will go ahead and take a look at the application process for the individual artist, which I was there. Having a hard time. Okay. Too many things open. Okay. So this is the application for the John Ringling Tower Fund for individual artists. First and foremost, you're going to want to check which discipline you are applying for. So that's obviously super important. Again, the name for this, your first and last name should obviously be the individual artist. If you have someone else who's helping you fill, make sure that this is you and all of your information. Address, phone number, website, all your contact information.
I interrupt?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just a little note, because sometimes the art forms, bleed over into each other. If you are a playwright and you're writing a play, certainly that's literary, but it could also be performing arts. You've got to make that decision because you can't apply for both. You can only apply for one. So, determine which way you're going to go as you take a look at this to help you make sure you're going for the one that will make most sense for your application.
Going into eligibility, this portion right here, I verify that I am. These are all things that are 100% required to receive this grant. You're a resident of Sarasota County. You've been a resident here for at least 1 year. You're not enrolled in any degrees or certificate programs, training, and you must be a member of the Arts and Cultural Alliance. So if you're not, become a member. Also, we will need to know if you've ever received a John Ringling Tower Fund before. Here, you're going to upload your resume, or CV. Yep. And then you're going to go down into the artistic vision. This is where you're going to really start to describe, again, this is quite at length. I mean, it's a 3,000 word max here. But again, going into your artistic visions and goals, how this award will help you reach your goals, the key media, instruments, or other artistic materials that you use in your work, and how that's to be understood. And then any additional information that will give the grant panel context for understanding, the artistic nature of your work and what you're trying to accomplish.
Let me just interrupt here again. This is one of the most important parts of this application, because you are expected to be a professional artist and you will be competing against other professional artists. And I know in the past, sometimes people have difficulty articulating their artistic mission, but the panelists will look at this and read it first to try to get to understand you and what you're trying to do, and then how this project, this grant, can help you achieve more of that mission or move significantly toward that mission. So your ability to articulate your mission, your artistic mission, is a very important part of this application.
Moving on, this is where you're going to submit your work samples. You can provide up to 5 work samples and can either upload it as a PDF or a JPEG. or you can provide a link to audio or video samples.
Let me interrupt here.
Go ahead.
For example, if you are a literary artist and maybe you've written 3 or 4 books in your past, don't submit the whole book, okay? Take portions of your work and present that as samples of your work, and that'll related to your artistic mission and why that's important, okay? Because again, they'll review several of these, and you want to try to help out. If you are a visual artist, you can refer to your website, but then you can put up, I think it's 5 or 6 samples of your
Up to 5.
up to 5 samples of your work, and they're going to be wanting to look at what you've done and how you've done it, but they don't have time to look at your first 2,000 paintings. You want to do it in a way that will help you achieve your goal with this particular grant application.
So that basically wraps up the individual artist application, and then you're just going to, provide that the statements in this application are true and complete. Type in your name. You're not a robot. If you want to print out your application once completed, you can. And similarly, like we stated with the opportunity grant, this isn't an application form that saves as you go, or you can save and go back. So we recommend that you have a Word document, or however you want to go, fill out the application on your own and then copy and paste things into the form, because it doesn't save.
And that will also help you count the number of words, because there are limits and so on like that.
Yep.
As you go. So before we move on to the Historic Preservation Award, let's just say for individual artists, are there questions out there? Hi, Kaneko. I didn't see you down there.
I have question.
I know you do. You always do.
Can
What is your question?
Okay, about the artistic mission, and you said the artistic mission for the personal, the growth, right?
Right.
And as a professional, my personal growth relates to an impact to the community. And but in this artistic vision and artistic mission, am I supposed to only describe my artistic growth, but not what type of impact is to the community is my goal?
Well, that's a very good question. And the answer is you want to be able to get across how this project that you're requesting work for here is going to help you either increase your skills or your ability to impact the community at large, okay? Maybe by doing this, one of my larger goals is to have more impact in the community, and this will help me through this type of experience or whatever that is. I think all of us want to increase our impact for the community or for mankind or whatever that happens to be. But the panelists are going to be looking for, okay, this can help this person achieve. It doesn't mean you have to meet the whole goal. Okay, it means you need to walk along the way and make some progress with that goal. So I don't know if that makes sense or not, but that would be the way I would approach, your overall vision, and then what you're trying to achieve with this particular project, and how the use of this money will be able to help you move forward a little bit. I'll give you an example. A few years ago, we had a local artist, playwright, who was trying to elevate the level of her work. And the application for the John Ringling Tower project was to help her finish writing a play, to have the time and the energy to do that, which she would then be able to apply for exposure. Long story, very, very short, she actually ended up doing that one-woman play on Broadway. And it helped her move forward, with that. And so, obviously the money didn't write the play. Her talent wrote the play, but it gave her the ability to do that at this particular point in time. So that's kind of the thing that we're looking for, and that how this will relate to your mission.
So in my case, if I am planning on to study at MIT because my discipline is the visual arts, origami, the art of paper folding, and that is very mechanical right now. So I like to study that engineering side of the paper folding. So if I am to go to MIT and then stay there and then go there, all the expense, could that be the part of my grant writing, the
Yes.
grant money use?
Yes, because, and again, that's a very specific example. You are an accomplished origami artist already, but to move forward, I really need to understand the dynamics, the physics of paper folding, whatever that is, And this would be covering the expenses or part of the expenses of doing that could be a way to help you move forward in your professional artistic mission. So yes, the answer is that, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions before we go over the historic? Yes, Mary Ann.
Hi, my name is Mary Ann. I am an artist too, an individual artist before I founded the Spaces Foundation. So that's my love. And I'd like to apply, and I was wondering about, in the guidelines, it says character limits. Character limits for the, writing the mission and the vision. Is it character limits or words? Word count, 3,000 word count. I'm virtually certain it's word count. We're going to double check that for you. 3,000 characters wouldn't get you very far. I know. It's almost certainly words. Yeah. Okay. But again, you're going to need to be pretty succinct in the way you present it. You're going to have to think it through. And that's another reason why we encourage you to look at the application and determine which documents am I going to need to create. Create those documents as a Word document or something of that nature. Edit it as often as you need to. Again, if you can, contact somebody else to read it and see if it makes sense to them. And then when you feel like you're ready to do the whole thing, go over to the application, cut and paste, and you're moving into it. Okay, thank you so much. And I noticed my friend Lane put a question in the chat.
Yeah, I was actually just going to answer that question. So a confirmation will, the question was, once you hit submit on your application, does the system send a confirmation that the application has been submitted? And I do believe so, but I will also follow up with every application that is received to just confirm that your application has been successfully received and it's now going into the review process. There will be a double follow-up for sure.
Well, and on that also, keep in mind that once you do submit it, it is submitted. We don't go back and edit again, so edit, do whatever you want. And then when you submit, make that your final application submission, and do not wait until the last day to do this because you will not be successful in all probability. And when the application closes, it closes, okay? So all submissions will be digital. We do not accept any paper or written submissions. And your uploading of samples and all of that needs to be a part of that application. So be thoughtful about it. And when you're ready to do the application, open it up, cut and paste, make, send samples, etc., and then submit it and you'll be in good shape.
Okay, so last but not least, we're going to review the application for the historic preservation.
We are, yeah. Let's just double check. Are there any final questions from the individual artists before we move to historic preservation? Kathleen?
Yes, thank you. Good morning. When we were looking at the initial pages of the application, when it referenced being a resident, I noticed that the date said a resident like a year before September 2020, or is that going to be updated?
A year before the application for 2021.
Yeah.
So
Right, I think the form
in
still
the
says.
community, yeah, if you've been in the community for 1 year as of the application date, then
Wonderful,
qualify. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yes.
thank you.
And
What I-
and again, you have to be a resident of Sarasota County. And because it happens every year, for any of you who may live in one of those zip codes that says Sarasota, but it's really Bradenton, unfortunately, you don't qualify. So you've got to check that. And the reason that is this is money that's generated through, some local tax funds and support. And our job is to support projects in Sarasota County. There are organizations in Manatee County or Charlotte County that may or may not be able to support you, but that's the limitation that we place on it, okay?
We have a quick question from Gabrielle. She asked, instead of 5 3-minute videos, is it okay to submit 1 15-minute video as a work sample?
I would say yes, if that video will fit within the limits of what that work sample can absorb. I just don't know.
Yeah, I guess that would be the only, I don't know as far as like file size, if our form could support a video that is that long. I want to say I don't think,
We're going to try to check that right now for you.
I think on the work samples, they can't, the max is 2 megabytes. So I don't, a 15-minute video, I would assume is larger than that.
Yeah,
but.
and it will tell you on the application what the size of the sample can be. So your limitation will be how much that space can absorb, from a digital point of view.
Yes.
Okay, let's get Mary Ann, then we'll go to Kaneko.
Yeah.
My question kind of piggybacks on Kaniko's first question. Thank you so much for being so helpful too. In the artistic vision, should we focus on our ability to impact the community and move us forward in our career, or just one or the other?
Well, they're basically inextricably, they're linked to each other. Keep in mind, you're going to have a certain number of words. And what the panelists are going to be looking for mostly is how this is going to help you achieve, not achieve totally, your artistic mission. And if, let's say, as in Kaneko's comments, if a lot of your artistic mission is related to the ability to impact the community, you need to kind of incorporate that wording in there, but you also need to be able to show how your work in this project is going to help you get to that, okay? So I hope that's clear enough for you. You work within your word, give it the best description you can give it.
Thank you.
And Kaneko, then you had a question.
Yeah, it's about video. I'm just double checking with you because 2 megabytes for the video submission, 2 megabytes will be maybe 3 seconds of video. Does it apply to video?
I'll have to look into what, I'll have to.
I think what you can do, not to interrupt, but I think what you could do there, Kaneko, is if you had a sample of, let's say, one of your origami works, the whole video of it, you could put the link in there that could take them to that particular video, okay?
So that answers Gabrielle's question too. So instead of actually like uploading the video into the form, just put it on YouTube and provide the URL link or Vimeo or, just wherever you can host that video elsewhere and just include a link within your application.
Right. But I will also add the caution that if you go that route, which is what I would do, okay, make the panelists are going, it's kind of like the old school, the mind can absorb what the ass can endure. I think if you try to put in, War and Peace, they're not going to read the whole thing, so try to make it something that they can keep their interest while they're evaluating your project.
And then that should be the 3-minute videos?
Could be.
Is a limit? Is there any time limits? Because I have 1 minute video, 3 minutes video, 5 minutes video, something like
Sure.
that.
I think
Well, no.
like just to say to what Jim was saying, there isn't a time limit on the videos you can submit, but just keep in mind our panelists are reviewing dozens of applications and they, you know, I don't know if they're, you know, if they're going to have time or even want to watch a 15-20 minute video. So just, you know, it's more of, you know, what you can show in the smallest amount of time that's going to be best for them to review, kind of like
Right.
the highlights of what you know, most people have an attention span with videos no more than 3 minutes is usually the
Yeah.
is usually the
And that's
cutoff.
probably the high end. But keep in mind, they're really looking for your artistic achievement. So even if you put in the 15 link to a 15-minute video, make sure that the first part of that video can demonstrate some quality work. You know, that, and that way you're kind of covered. And it's up to them if they want to watch the whole thing or not.
Thank you.
Yes. Gabrielle asked another question in regards to videos, and this is true. So if you were to upload a video to YouTube and make it private so nobody else can view it, people to then have to view the video would have to have permission. So can they get email addresses? We'll have to.
I would keep it as simple as I can keep it.
Yeah.
You know, people are not gonna, the panelists are not gonna go through a whole bunch of stuff, you know. If you can make it simple on them,
Yeah.
make it simple.
That's true. Again, videos, if you make them unlisted, you can, there is a setting on YouTube that if the video isn't open to the public, anyone who has the link can view it. It doesn't have to be email specific.
Right.
So that was helpful. Thank you, Logan.
Good.
Very
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Okay. Want to jump over to historical preservation because we
If
do
that's,
have. Yeah.
You got one question, Logan, or are you waving by?
No, I was just giving my thanks.
Anybody that's an individual artist, unless you want to listen to historic preservation, you're welcome to sign off now. And then we're going to be specifically looking at historic preservation questions or information on this next piece here. So thanks all of you who are leaving, and we're looking forward to working with you.
And you should have my email. I'm communications@sarasotaarts.org. Please feel free to email me if you have any questions that come up at any time. If you have issues with the application, you know, we do have a good amount, you know, these applications are not due until September 10th, which is a Friday. So we do have some time to, you know, work together and make you all successful in this process.
And I have to add one more commercial while we're here. And that is, since you will be applying as an individual artist, you'll need to be a member of the Arts and Cultural Alliance. And our largest single mission as the Alliance is advocacy for the arts throughout the community and the state. And that's, you know, that's what we're out there trying to represent you. So I encourage you to encourage your friends and your customers to become members of the Arts and Cultural Alliance so that we can have the numbers that we need to be able to get the attention of politicians and business people in fundraising and program support. I think many of you know, or you may not know, that right now we've been working now for several years. We are working with the Board of County Commissioners to try to set the stage to build a live workspace for artists in Sarasota County that will be affordable housing specifically for creatives and artists. Now, we're not there yet, you know, we're getting there, but that's a part of what we do is advocacy in all different types of directions. So encourage your customers and encourage other artists that you know to become members of the Arts and Cultural Alliance so we can use those numbers to help achieve all the things we're trying to do in the community. And with that, we're going to focus on historic preservation. Anybody can leave or stay if you want to. And we're going to move right into historic preservation.
Yes, thank you for being so patient, Tom. Okay, so historic preservation. I've got like way too many things open here.
On the screen.
Sorry, too many things. Okay. This is individual artists. Okay. So, Again, for historic preservation, you're on this same page here for the John Ringling Tower Fund. Again, Tom, you have a little brief description of what the history of the award and where that grant money is coming from. You have the timeline, and then all of the information you need is going to be under this menu here. As of tomorrow, this will be a live link, which takes you to the application. We have the preservation guideline packet, which again, takes some time to review that. The preservation budget
Let's open
form,
that.
as well as the final report. We'll
Okay.
take a look at this really quick.
Yeah, good.
Slow computer. So basically very similar to
Yeah, I noticed there was the budget template for the project as well as the organization there, so.
Right,
I'm
right.
assuming we have to do both.
Yeah, yeah. And again, the organization budget is just to help demonstrate administrative competence. You know, it's these numbers are not shared with other people or out there. It just helps us make sure that, you know,
Yeah.
because obviously a $3,000 limit is not going to rebuild the Taj Mahal or anything of that nature. But you know, we really, as I've said before, the focus here is kind of the philosophy is we want to help you achieve the completion of a project or get as close to it as we can. You know, if you say, you know, with this $3,000, we can wrap up this portion, which will close out the project, you're much more apt to get it than to say, well, we've got this $250,000 project and this will be our first money raised. You know, you're probably not going to get funded with that. So that's really where we're aiming, is that type of thing.
Okay.
looking at the application, very similar to the previous. You have your primary contact information, physical address, email, phone number, name of the organization. Eligibility, again, this is really similar to the opportunity grant section. This is where you're going to provide your 990, your IRS letters, a list of your board of directors, all of that kind of information. Application is going to go basically website, your mission statement, proposed project summary. This is where you're going to describe your project, including how the grant will be used and the timeline or work plan, as Jim has discussed.
Let me make one statement here. Since we are the Arts and Cultural Alliance, you're much more apt to be funded for a project that has some sort of cultural or artistic connection rather than redoing a church building, you know, unless it happens to be culturally significant, you know, that type of thing.
Right.
Because it, you know, we're here to promote arts and culture in the community. So that's just a little hint for you there.
Right. Okay.
Further, it going into, of course, yeah, then just the general historic significance of the project. And then, of course, a description in discussing sustainability, in-kind support or other grants and funding sources if the project is ongoing. Describe a plan for future funding. And then the budget section, this is where you'll upload that budget template. Any other further explanation that you want to include for the project or your overall organization budget. Here's where you can submit supporting documents. So include at least one photo of the project, and then any other documents that explain the project, whether that's a PDF or a JPEG. And the same thing, you can provide links to audio or video files. So provide that link versus actually uploading the video.
Okay.
So anything to support your application. And then basically that's it. Certify that information by just typing in your name. You're not a robot. You can print the form and click submit.
Okay. Okay.
Any questions?
Any
on that?
questions?
No, this has been great because I've already laid out a lot of the grant application, but after listening to your presentations, and with this is with the other one, I need to revise it because
Yeah.
I understand now where the points of interest are.
Right.
Great.
And, you know,
And you-
what we're doing is we're trying to, most of the project expense that we're working on is associated with getting a building nationally designated that's in a park that the county bought down in Baymo, the Baymo. Park.
Right.
So we spent the money to do the application, but we're still in the process of pushing back against the county's consultants, which said it has no historic value.
Yeah.
Needing to get the consultant back in. So that's where this could really help us. So I understand now where we need to emphasize.
Right.
Right. That's
Now that can help put us over the finish line in terms of getting it designated and preserved. It's a dual objective. So.
And as I said before, the panelists that we get for this area, this particular grant portion, are either have strong backgrounds in historic preservation or in architecture, or historical designations. So they'll understand that much better than some general flowery thing, they want to be much more preservation specific. Preservation is a key word here, in the whole project. So I'm familiar with what you're talking about down there, and you've got a little bit of an uphill battle to go with.
Yeah, we got a good community that's totally supportive of keeping it and repurposing it for park related activities. So I think but this is great. Every little bit helps, but the education I got today was terrific.
Well, good. We appreciate the work you're doing in the community out there.
Yes,
and feel free to call us, with any questions or anything we can do to help you. We can't fill out the application for you, but we'll certainly help out in every way that we can out there.
Great, thanks. I really appreciate that.
Thank you for your time.
Bye-bye. Mary, are you still on or no?
Anybody else on that has a question? Okay, we're gone. See you later.
All right, guys, have a good one.
Thank you.